The Wassalia site was settled around 500 CE, between the Middle and Late Woodland period. The site is across from what is now downtown Memphis, Tennessee, and was found using aerial photography. The Native Americans who settled this site left behind no written records. However, we know that it was a relatively large community for its time. The artifacts and the relatively complex layout of the community provide evidence of a sophisticated society. The lives of the inhabitants of Wassalia included war, worship of their deities, and a burgeoning social structure. The trade habits of these peoples were reflected in all of these subjects. Because of the site's prime location on the Mississippi River, the site flourished for many years, even though it had to deal with raiding tribes often.
The Mississippi River played a crucial role in the people of Wassalia's lives. Between trade, a water source, and the fact that it fostered a plethora of vegetation, the people could not only survive, but also thrive. This large amount of vegetation in the area also provides evidence of extremely fertile soils that would have been able to support the domestication of crops. Archaeologists know that there were a lot of natural vegetation due to preserved plant material found within the mud of the riverbank, which could be dated back to the time of Wassalia with radioactive carbon dating. The vegetation with remains in this area and at this time were primarily corn, squash, and pumpkin.
This community was one of mound builders. They used the 10-foot narrow, flat-top mounds as both lookouts for the stockade and a 12-month clock. This clock helped them predict seasonal fluctuations and weather patterns. A central plaza was apparently found within the circle of mounds, apparent by the infertile compacted soil, which would have been trampled down by people walking between different tradesmen. On one end of the central plaza, archaeologists found a 50-foot tall, flat-top mound that would have housed the elite class and rulers. The jewelry on top of this mound was clearly the most intricate, and therefore denoted some form of chiefdom centered around this prominent earthwork. The size of this elite mound could be used to survey the people on a regular basis, as well as quickly communicate with the community if an attack were imminent or a religious ceremony was planned.
The people of Wassalia had a highly stratified social system. It followed a matriarchal system where women held positions of power and were revered for their fertility and ability to give birth to strong warriors. Archaeologists inferred the matriarchal system from the close proximity of high-status jewelry and jasmine idols shaped like pregnant women. These leaders would gather atop the elite mound to perform rituals and rites to ask deities for good weather and the ability to win wars. This is surmised by the fact that many projectile points from atlatls and spears and parts of their most important crops were found in areas of high ash. This points to the use of ceremonial fires to burn these tokens for the gods.
Many bodies of the people from Wassalia have been found at the foot of the elite mound. From these bodies, it is apparent that men did most of the laborious work, fighting and hunting, and therefore showed higher stress impacts on their joints and bones than women. Women, it seems, lived mostly safe domestic lives, as they were valued too highly for their ability to birth strong warriors to risk putting them in harm's way. It seems that women cooked, cared for children, and made the intricate jewelry found littered about the site. There is also evidence of enslaved people at the bottom of the class system. These fossilized skeletons show very little bone stress, but also seem to have slightly different bone density. This may point towards the fact that these slaves may have just been prisoners of war, who traded their allegiance to their original tribes for the ability to live in the nicer conditions of Wassalia. In this case, they would do minor labor jobs around the community as needed, such as watching the children.
Horns and the high fighting ability of the Wassalia people, it seems that the surrounding tribes eventually wore them down. The site was so appealing to others that it was constantly coveted and attacked. Eventually, the defenses of the community would have taken so many hits so often that it would have been hard to repair the damage quickly enough. Between the loss of defenses and an apparent drought 2 years in a row, it seems that the small amount of people that survived left by their own choice to escape the increasingly hostile environment.